Hey folks, thank you for joining. Do a quick sound check if you don't mind. Can you guys hear me okay? If you can just go to the questions box and say, hey Nick, we can hear you, we can see you. All right, awesome. Anyone new here? Let's see, we usually ask if anyone's joining an exclusive webinar for the first time, just introduce yourself, because we do this every 2 weeks, and we have a pretty tight group of people that come out. So if you're new, just let us all welcome you. If you can go to the questions box and tell us what your name is and what company you're here from. You're in a safe space. This is going to be a great place for you to ask questions and keep learning new ways to grow your business. So got Joshua here from Space Center Systems. Hey Joshua, how are you? Thank you for joining. So Joshua is new to the group. That's fantastic. Anyone else here that's new to exclusive webinars? Sandy from Distance Learning Company. Awesome. Minnie Wen from Barsky Diamonds. All right. How are you, Minnie? Doing great. Perfect. Awesome. Folks, just also, side note, we'll get started at 2:02. Just means we'll give people some time to dial in and, scream at their computer while GoToMeeting doesn't let them in. Anyone here from California? I'm out in LA. I know Lauren, you're out here. Yep. Got Paul from Go Organic and Paul, I need you to, because I've only been Cali for 7 years, and I've heard people say Ojai and Ojai. I'm curious, being a native there, what you would call it. Oh, Lauren, you moved to Vegas. Sounds like fun. Oh, hi. Okay, perfect. Well, oh, hi to yourself. Anyone else here in an exclusive webinar for the first time? Please introduce yourself. There's going to be a fairly small group, less than 100 people here. So feel free to ask questions. Got a lot to cover, both new stuff, very Google Ads focused, or new and old stuff kind of focused on Google Ads. And then we're going to move a little bit away from Google Ads for a moment to talk about how certain levers can be pulled to make Google Ads more profitable and scale faster. Got Nick here from Bay Area, first timer. Hi Nick, how are you? Guys, it is 2:02, so I know people are still coming in. In the last 2 minutes, the number of attendees increased 4x. So people will keep coming in, let them come on in. But let's get started. So first of all, we are a performance agency, which means we're obsessed with numbers, we're obsessed with growth. Everything we do for 25 years is, what can we do to improve the controls around efficiency for clients? And when you win efficiency, you can create scale. So this is kind of our obsession, but to further this, what we've done is essentially develop 3 disciplines. One is specialization, platform specialization. We know that much of efficiency and scale happens at the platform level. So for every platform, we have a different department: SEO, Google Ads, Amazon Marketplace, social, conversion, email, SMS. And the individuals who work in those departments are dedicated specialists in that field, in that platform, their entire career. That's great. That's a starting point. Second discipline is we have a separate strategy team that coordinates the activities of all these specialists in their specialized platforms, so that the platforms are not just accomplishing something for themselves, but something greater. And then we have a technology team that keeps thinking about how good strategy and a lot of platform data can be used together to activate more growth. So the specialists are thinking about efficiency and growth. The strategists are thinking about efficiency and growth on the technology side, and they're all coordinated together. That's how we do it. Anyone can do it the way they want. This is what we decided to focus on for mere 25 years. Here's a handful of clients that trust us, just to get a good sense of the type of businesses we're helping grow. Mostly our clients are emerging, not established, but here's a handful of the more established ones. That's me. My name is Nick Rajpal. I'm the VP of Marketing Sciences here at Exclusive. I joined 14 years ago and first came on because we were doing projects like SEO projects, development, design projects, and we wanted to shift towards services, solutions, long-term partnerships on multiple channels, but holistically growing our clients' businesses. So I came up and developed our SEO program, helped reshape the Google Ads program, launched the Amazon conversion testing, email, developed our strategy philosophy, helped do the hiring and the methodology build outs and tools and things like that. And now the team is quite large between our marketing specialists and our data scientists that help from it's a sister company, but it's all kind of working together. We have roughly about 270 employees and about 400 plus clients. So we're going to talk about scale today. The scale means how do you increase your ad spend, right? Ad spend on Google Ads. Some people want to because they think, I've got a lot of inventory, I can move it. Some people don't want to. Part of the reason is because some people don't have inventory. Some businesses are still struggling there. They just want to figure out the right way to coast. Others are struggling with the idea of scale because when they're looking at their data, they're saying, wow, at scale right now, my cost per click, my cost per acquisition keep going up. I don't want to scale that. I want to fix that. That seems to be at this point one of the most constraining issues. So I just want to, we're all here as peers of one another, just going to ask the group, are you seeing cost per click, CPC, and cost per acquisition, CPA, increasing in your Google Ads account? And I'm thinking, 2022. That's essentially what we're talking about. Last few quarters, last quarter, this year, not very long term, because we know that there was generally a dip in CPC and CPA during most of the pandemic. Great, I'm going to close this out in 3, 2, 1. And for those of you who were concerned that they were the only ones seeing these increases, rest assured, 67% of you are seeing cost per click and cost per acquisition increases in your Google Ads account. It is a phenomenon that is bothering all of us. So we're gonna pretty much focus on that while structuring around that in terms of how to scale. So first of all, why are cost per clicks and cost per acquisitions increasing? Now I'm going to skip over one part, which is natural. We know people are going to brick and mortar stores; they can buy there. That means less people are actually buying online. On top of that, less people are searching online because more people are out of the house. When we look at a year-over-year comparison of everyone at home during the pandemic with nowhere to go versus people out and about. So less people searching means that clicks are more expensive. Less people buying online means conversion rates are down. All this talk of recession, people are spending less potentially. It's actually not quite true in terms of spend. But you can't control all that. So we're gonna just focus on essentially what you can control. So here's one thing that we're seeing nonstop. It's not just us, it's Google. Google is driving their direction. Google Ads, their direction is based on this particular observation. Everyone wants to target those people who have shopping intent, who in that moment they are searching to buy something in your category, and search ads and shopping ads, you just want to be in there. It's what we call consideration activity. And so much of advertising is happening just in shopping and search. And you've got Google Ads saying, hey guys, we have display. We have a display network. We have YouTube. We have all this stuff that you can advertise on. Why won't anyone advertise elsewhere? Your shoppers don't just buy in the first click. They take some time. So we'll get to next thing is, and I want to introduce this framework now. This is the exclusive framework. Many of you who are here are clients. We invited our clients. If you have not been introduced to this framework, it's because we're doing a rollout of this framework, one client at a time, starting this quarter. So you'll be introduced to this when we can properly introduce it to you. But the framework is fairly simple. We're basically saying there's so many different types of activity that marketing can influence that influence your growth. People finding out about you. That's awareness. You showing up in search at the right time. That's consideration. So when someone's searching, you're there. And you keep showing up or a little bit of remarketing to get that person to buy. That's called conversion activity. Those people between the first click and first purchase. There's loyalty. Let's go out to past customers and get them to buy again. And there's advocacy. Just asking people to like, share, review. And now all these activities kind of help the next activity. All these activities help growth. And because they each kind of help each other, including advocacy, bringing more awareness, and this cycle continues and continues to get stronger, we got the virtuous activity cycle. Problem is, through Google Ads specifically, virtually all the investments go into consideration and conversion. Google notices that's all the clamoring. That's the saturated part of the market driving up the cost per clicks. And the awareness and loyalty parts, for specifically, are not getting enough spend. And finally, people are just not using Google Ads correctly. They're using the wrong conversion tracking, the wrong attribution models, their structure's off, they don't understand bid strategy and they did that wrong. Their ad ranking quality score is forcing Google, actually permitting Google to charge you more. There's a lack of keyword control, and there's some misinformation around product prioritization. Whose job is it? Is it Google's? Is it yours? So we're going to address all this. Let's start off front and center, focus on Performance Max. Performance Max is, in one foul swoop, a way for Google to say, dear regulators, we understand you don't want us to allow people to target in violation of privacy policies. So we're going to anonymize a lot of the activity. And we're going to start tracking one individual at a time as that individual goes through all Google's properties. And when we can tell that that individual has intent to buy a particular product or a product category from an advertiser, we're going to start introducing that customer to that advertiser in awareness, consideration, conversion, loyalty. So it's great thing is it's Performance Max. So it's you tell them the goal, the revenue impact goal, and they'll do things like awareness targeting that typically you don't think about as driving revenue, but they know it does. It's a lot like smart shopping, except it replaces smart shopping mandatorily. So it's like the inventory, instead of just search and like some Gmail positions and YouTube positions and third-party display. It has discovery, it has YouTube in-stream ads. There's more formats added in, which we'll get into. And then you have a lot more control over audience signals specifically. So for starters, PMax is not encouraging you to only spend in shopping and search. It starts to shop for you for advertising placements to the same individuals you're showing up for on search and shopping. Those people engage in shopping and search, and then Google goes out and buys for pennies per click more visibility to reinforce the customer journey with these same shoppers. So they say, okay, get the click from shopping, get the click from search, get that intent moment, and then over the course of the next few days, we're going to track this individual. And when they happen to be interacting with a Google property where the average bids are very, very low, we're going to go ahead and show more ads. We're going to keep reinforcing for pennies on the dollar, driving up your conversions, but driving down your average cost per click, driving down your cost per acquisition. So it's basically changing the average of the interaction costs and encouraging more people in full funnel activity. The PMax campaign basically has 4 parts to it. You set your campaign goals. You've got listing groups, which is the products. You've got asset groups, which is like images and whatnot. And you've got some audience signals where you can guide Google's bidding. The asset groups is fairly simple. When you've decided that you got a segment and that you want to put in, some of your most popular top seller products, you can put those products into a Performance Max campaign and add up to 20 images, 5 logos, some headlines, descriptions, and videos. Tips for these asset groups. So what we found is it's helpful to kind of align your listing groups based on product type, for starters. For each of the product types, you should have, for starters, just one asset group. You can add over time as you start to see which of the groups are performing better. We recommend adding the maximum number of images, headlines, and text because Google is doing a learning process. This is like when you use Facebook and you're waiting for the learning engine. This is kind of the same thing. Google is testing a lot of different variations and then locking it in once they figure out what performs the best. And if you don't have video, Google will create its own video with view rates basically performing as good, if not sometimes better, than a video that you created and spent a lot of money on. So it's fairly easy to set these up. The listing group is like Google Shopping from your merchant feed, a set of products. You've got to pair these with your asset groups so that the text, the headlines, the images bring your products to life. You can over time get more granular, but for now, just keep it high level. Audience signals are going to drive a lot of the performance early on. So with audience signals, you can add some custom segments. You can add your own data if you want to kind of single out your past customers, for example. You can use interest and detailed demographics. And you start to organize your asset groups and your targets based on this. Some quick tips. Make sure you do not have a PMax campaign that basically every PMax campaign should have some custom segments. You should have thought which ones need your data, which ones don't, and you should be applying interest demographics. And you'll keep getting more information from Google on which audiences and which custom signals are working. So then you keep going back and modifying them. That is your work now. That's your optimization effort that you have to keep doing. Figuring out which of these performance max campaigns should be splintered off into their own, so granularization, and then improvement of targeting through audience signals. The rest of it will be done by Google. You can have up to 100 performance max campaigns. So when you start off with a handful, 5, 10, you can start to develop a lot more granularity over time. Most of you know about performance max already. I just wanted to keep that fairly light, that part. But keep in mind, Google released that to help shop the inventory. That is a lower cost per click, basically to vacuum in the Google Ads market. And Performance Max itself, when used correctly, will drive down cost per acquisitions and cost per clicks. Before I get to the easy stuff, kind of the hand-to-hand tactical stuff that you can change in Google Ads, I first want to go really big. I talk about how our team exclusive, how we've been innovating to help build more efficiency and create scale. And we've done this with essentially 3 innovations. These innovations are a coordination between our strategy team and the Skunkworks part of our technology team. The first thing is called media mix modeling. Media mix modeling, its intention is fairly straightforward. It wants to look at data and then recommend to you how much you can increase ad spend without losing efficiency. So compare this to any other recommendation to increase ad spend. Typically, when you increase ad spend, your efficiency drops because you're inviting traffic that is net new tests. Of course, you're going to perform worse because you don't know what's going to work and what's not from this test. Media mix model tries to figure out where that threshold is before you scale too much and see efficiency drop. It does this by taking all the data from 1 year, from Google Ads, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, from Amazon Seller Central, analyzing it for seasonality, trends, correlations between spend increases and whatnot. It tries to figure the jump off point between awareness on Facebook and Instagram and sales created on Google Ads, or Google Ads branding that leads to Amazon sales, or Amazon introductions that lead to Google sales. It tries to find those particular correlations. And then an output comes from there, basically suggesting what the monthly maximum ad spend can be over the course of the next 6 months. It stipulates a return on ad spend expectation and also spits out how confident the statistical model is based on the data. It helps with reallocations, spending more, both. There's a multitude of modules of reporting after the top report that allow you to see kind of cross-channel view. And of course, seasonality and attribution are factored in as we've lost a lot of data after iOS 14 and Facebook, for example. It's this type of modeling that fills in those gaps. In the tool itself, you can experiment with different ad spend levels and see if it changes the output. It forecasts growth and focuses on revenue impact. And just to understand what clients are experiencing where we've rolled this out. Exclusive media mix modeling tool forecast data gave us the absolute confidence to increase our ad spend budget. As a result, our absolute revenue has increased to a new level with constant profit margin. So it's increasing spend without loss of fidelity. The second thing that we've done, we're helping clients out, and has been a great innovation for the traffic jam that we're stuck in when it comes to marketing. We're all kind of stuck because platforms are changing so much, attribution models and whatnot. We can't really see the data that we're used to. So we're harnessing that and saying, well, then let's look at the data the best way possible. Let's look at the data as if the channels didn't even exist. We want to know at any given time what the awareness data looks like, consideration, conversion, loyalty, advocacy. So what we've done is we just innovated on campaign tagging and reporting. We said, let's go through every campaign for every client and tag the campaigns in Meta, Amazon, Google Ads, email, SMS, the ones that are meant for awareness, TikTok, Pinterest, awareness, consideration, conversion, loyalty, which is repeat purchases. And just like that, when it's all tagged, the report that is summing up the tags, we can now get a sense of the push and pull in areas of improvement and more spend. So this is actually from a client, unbeknownst until we were able to organize the data this way. Awareness campaigns were one of the highest performing return on ad spend and underspent. It was in the back of everyone's mind that they would not perform well, but only when laid out this way could we see what was actually happening. Typically what we're seeing is that the conversion activity is incredibly strong, return on ad spend, far exceeding the return on ad spend goal, and encouraging awareness and consideration investment to increase. And then in this reporting system, you can now dive in to consideration, for example, or awareness, and see all the channels and their breakdown, and then all the campaigns, so that we can isolate what can be increased the most, the pressure points of growth within that cross-channel, but unified by activity at a time. The first time ever since funnels were created in 1898 that people can look at cross-channel by funnel, period. We will be the first to have innovated that leap. And finally, segmentation and message mapping. So if you serve maybe 2 or 3 different segments, well, what always have been nice is to know for segment A, what's going on across all the channels. How can I coordinate the messaging, when people find out about us in awareness, consideration, their conversion, messaging? How can I test for a particular segment one position versus an alternate? And what if I'm ignoring a segment that has a lot of potential to growth? Wouldn't it be nice to have that singled out so I could say, oh, segment C, that's only 5% of our business. I didn't realize we have the highest return on ad spend there. No, we should invest in that. So the process becomes fairly straightforward now. What we're encouraging our clients to do, and then create a system of tagging and report on this, is identify segments A, B, C, call them out, describe them, develop a position statement, clarify which value propositions we want to reinforce, what we want people to feel, what the key products are, and finally, what modality we want to stimulate. So for example, if we have a price-sensitive group of buyers, segment B, we could just say we're a great place to buy low-cost, high-quality products. And that would be a very methodical, social way, a very stoic way of treating this group. But because these are discount shoppers, what if instead we made it bargain basement, fire sale approach, where it's all about price, bundles, flash sales, and spontaneous modality? They're totally different treatments of marketing. In fact, there are essentially 4 treatments of marketing: competitive, spontaneous, methodical, and social. And as you study your segments, there is a natural gravitation towards a particular modality. And once you choose your modality for that segment, it colors all the advertising you do for that segment. And when you do the right modality for your segment, conversion rates skyrocket, your efficiency skyrockets, and your ability to scale through more awareness, you actually have a full path for that. So we're always thinking about what changes to make in a platform to improve efficiency and scale. This is what changes in your strategy would lead to efficiency and scale. Now, I just described essentially 3 different innovations that we've been working on and rolling out in 2022. Curious, well, which one kind of piques your interest? Is it the media mix modeling that can take 1 year's worth of data and predict your growth? Is it activity reports where you can now see your awareness versus your consideration versus your conversion or loyalty activity and kind of dive into that and expand? Or is it the reporting and testing at the segment level, but still cross-channel? This is exciting for us to learn from everyone here as well. So yeah, this data is going to be really helpful for us and continue to guide us. The media mix model right now is confident for 203 clients. All the innovations we do on that side are about increasing the number of clients we can run that on. VAC reporting is applicable to every client, and segmentation tagging is underway. I'm going to close this out in 3, 2, 1, and I'm just going to share this with the group. The 53% of you are most excited about media mix modeling. Really happy to hear that. 47% of you are looking forward to seeing your data broken out by phase and activity to have a better balance of investment. And 29% of you are thinking about, wouldn't it be nice to be able to see all my data just down to one segment and start testing positions? So really cool. Thank you guys for sharing. We're going to now just cover a series of quick, easy tactical changes you can make in Google Ads based on the biggest mistakes we've seen while auditing accounts over the course of the last 1.5 years. So in other words, before someone becomes a client, they come to us and say, I've got an agency, not sure if they're doing the right work. Can you audit whatever you think is worth looking at? I'm going to show you what we think is worth looking at, what we've been seeing. So we still keep seeing last click attribution. Last click attribution means that if someone comes to your website through an ad when they typed in some discovery term, some very categorical term, they didn't know your name yet, and you showed up and you got a click. And then once again, a day later, they search for the same category you showed up, they clicked. Now they remember your brand name. So the third time, they end up buying from you. In last click attribution, what would happen is your brand ad would get 100% of the revenue contribution. When you look at your Google Ads data, you would say, oh, I spent money on these ads, I got the first click, these ads, I got the second click, I made no money. I should really bid those down. But I keep making money on my branded campaign. In actuality, those first 2 clicks were very meaningful, but you chose last click attribution and Google ended up lying to you around which ads were important. So using positions based where you get 40-40 split between the first and last and 20% everything in between is a good start to know which ads should keep getting more investment. Ideally, the most growth-oriented will be focused on using data-driven. Since those who showed up today are looking for scale, data-driven is going to point you in the direction of the ads and campaigns that are most likely going to help you grow the fastest. Last click will guide you in ways to just improve efficiency, potentially, without even considering whether it's going to just cut off all new customers entirely. Very misguiding. So you get to choose which data is going to come in to your Google Ads account and tell you how many conversions you're getting and what the conversions are worth. You could use Google Analytics as your source. But let's say in Google, you're using Google Ads, and most people will go to Google Ads for your customers. Let's say most people go to Google Ads and they eventually search on Google Organic for your brand, and then they buy from you. So one click from ads, learn about you, search, come in through organic. Google Analytics, in its basic way, will probably split the data. 50% of the revenue of that sale goes towards organic, 50% goes towards ads. So now when you look at your Google Ads, the revenue data will be a fraction of the actual data. Your average order values will look smaller. Your total conversions will look smaller. When you sum up all these fractional conversions, you'll think you've only converted this many when actually you got so many more orders. So if you use Google Analytics, you are splitting too much data. Instead, use Google Ads as the source, and it will only split up data between the type of ads that influence the sale. It gives you more data to work from. Your bid strategy. We keep seeing issues with bid strategy. So bid strategy is like when you say, I want maximum conversion value. So, hey, Google, for this particular campaign, I want you to track where I make the highest conversion value, and that's revenue, and just keep bringing traffic in that way. But you have to check out whether you have double counting, what the value is that you're tracking, and then assign those campaign goals. That's your bid strategy. I would keep seeing things done wrong. So for example, for someone who has a lead gen website where they've assigned a trivial revenue value per lead, they're using max conversion value. Target CPA when the account is double counting conversions. Target ROAS for brand campaigns, just limiting the exposure of the brand campaign. And in many cases, just using manual CPC, not using any bid strategy at all. Phone orders. For those of you who have 5 to 50% of your business coming from phone orders, what happens when your phone order value is 0? Well, make sure you get your bid strategy right. But don't you want to know what your return on ad spend is? So back of the napkin math is really simple. Go to your sales team, find out what the average close rate is for all the phone calls, and then find out what the average order value is for phone calls, which is probably different from web sales, probably higher. Add that as a one-time phone call value. Easy step. This is tricky. So very often in a PMAX campaign or a smart shopping campaign, you've put too many products into that particular campaign. Now, if there are products in that campaign that perform really, really well, you want Google to spend more on them. But if those great performers are present alongside really bad performers, unfortunately, Google's learning engine gets stuck. It continues to play it safe between these two. The only way to get more ad spend to high-performing products is to separate those into their own categories, their own campaigns. If you don't do that, the learning engine on Google Ads side is going to be stuck. It's a big part why structure is holding back scale and efficiency in most e-commerce accounts. And it's wrong to have overly simplistic approaches. So for example, sometimes people say, I'm going to put all the products from one brand, all the products from a category, all the products in general into one campaign at a time. No segmentation at all. It's also wrong to only have one smart shopping campaign or one PMAX campaign. Unless you are organizing your campaigns in a structure that isolates the best performers from mid-level and ideally from the worst, you have no control on scale. It's not your fault, it's Google's fault, just to be clear. Google switched to a new ad type, dynamic search ads, and they started to calculate an ad strength that unfortunately many agencies and advertisers have not even checked. We have seen up to 100% of ads for an account all be poor or average. This is not just like Google telling you that they think you can improve your quality of the way you wrote your text or the keywords that are used on the page. What they're doing is actually flagging you and telling you that when you want your ad to show up in a high position, the position is based on ad rank, which is a total score. The higher the score, the higher the position. And that score is a summary of what is your ad strength, you get some points, what is your click-through rate, what is your cost per click. So what happens when you want a high position and your ad rank is poor because you have ad strength is poor or average, you end up being charged a higher cost per click. Your ad strength determines your cost per click. And again, I'd say the average of accounts that we look at is about 60% of ads are average or poor, meaning all those ads are paying a huge premium on cost per click because the person managing never thought to check that part. Oof. We're seeing a lot of this. At the search term level, people are using broad match and not realizing that the terms that are coming from broad match are terms that you thought a different campaign was targeting. So you have like your brand campaign and your key discovery terms campaign, theoretically. If you write your brand campaign the wrong way, you're including keywords that are part of category. And if you don't use great negative keywords in your category side, you're going to get some brand keywords there. Those brand keywords are going to make your category level performance boost. And it's going to look like it's performing better than it actually is. Throws everything off. You've got to know what you're doing with negatives and with match types. Now you use that strategically to make sure that you've got a brand set of campaigns with no return on ad spend target, just maximum visibility. You might want to conquest against your competitors and probably be happy with a break-even return on ad spend. Anytime you steal a sale from a competitor, fine. If it was break-even, you stole a sale, good enough. And then the main focal point of return on ad spend would be all the other keywords. Not enough people are using YouTube still. So we're finding constantly accounts where there's no YouTube at all. For us, Q2 of 2020, 2 years ago, was a profound moment where we realized YouTube's actually making money. TrueView specifically is making money in e-com. We increased in that quarter, year over year, ad spend for our clients in YouTube 168%. The revenue from those YouTube ads increased 1,100%. After Q2 of 2020, e-commerce was benefiting from YouTube. And YouTube is just so incredibly powerful, especially with all the in-market data. You can choose which channels to target, which videos to target, which in-market audiences, which keywords to target. Discovery ads continue to be turned off in accounts. Discovery ads are essentially meta ads, Facebook and Instagram ads that you can run on Google, on YouTube, on Discovery app, and Gmail. And when I say they're essentially meta ads, they are. You can copy your Facebook ad into the Discovery ads portal. It's that simple. It is meant to just be a way for you to take any ad you create on Facebook and put it into a ridiculously large display and video network of YouTube and GDN at a low cost, mind you. Something that's a little more difficult to understand is keyword patterns. So we developed this little tool where we can say, every keyword that we've ever paid for that included the term premium. What does it do? Is it higher conversion rate, higher average order value, better return on ad spend? This is called pattern analysis. So in the back end of our business insight system, we have all these keywords pre-populated that you're paying for, the most common ones, and you get to see all the patterns. It's really helpful in determining ontological targeting. There's usually not enough feed labeling. So a lot of the accounts we're looking at either use old labels, like these are my top 200 products. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, those are my top 200 products in 2018. I guess I haven't updated that yet. Well, custom labels are there for you to constantly update as close to real time as possible. What we've done as an innovation is we use all the data from a client, all the Google ads, Amazon, analytics, Facebook, the back end of your store. We pull all that data into one system in real time. That becomes the data for our reports, for our VAC reports, for our segment reports, for our media mix modeling. All that comes from this data. But also, why not create logic for feeds? If something's in season, the logical map, label 1 is in season coming up. If something is trending in the last 45 days, it's trending in a label. If it's a top seller, a gateway, high repeat purchase, high margin, those are all possible candidates for feeds, and the data automatically updates them. Just watch your feeds, because the labels and the instructions around those labels are telling Google where to spend money and where not. One of the fastest ways for you to get a double improvement in return on ad spend, thereby allowing you to double or triple your ad spend. And until 2023, you can still use classic Google Shopping and create multiple campaigns with different priority settings and choose specifically what keyword you want to target for which Google Shopping product. This is called search query funneling. It's been available since 2016. Right now, we're the only agency that still does it. And how nice is that? To choose the keywords you show up for, including your competitors' keywords, or big, important discovery keywords, and choose the product that shows up. You still have control over that for the next 4 months at least. So, with that, I will take questions, but I'm just going to offer a growth plan. So, the way we kick off relationships with clients, we offer a growth plan. We know it's tough for us to figure out with our specialization, strategy, and technology, where do we start? Where do we activate your business? So you go through 4 steps. First step, you meet with someone from our team to determine, is what we've built meaningful to your business? Is there a fit? If yes, then you meet with myself or my colleague Liam, and we go through a discussion on your segmentation, your competitors. What is the average customer journey? How do customers actually go and get to the point where they're buying? How often do they buy again? Who are your competitors? And we learn all these different things about your goals, your history. We get to know you as people. And then we spend time putting together a plan. And in that plan, We talk about why we think your business should be growing, what we've observed your competitors doing, what kind of investment we think would be meaningful for you in terms of awareness, consideration, conversion, loyalty, and advocacy, what we're seeing in terms of deficits on your search strategy, what kind of modalities we think we should map to on your segment side, methodical, spontaneous, competitive, social, and what those segments are. We're going to look at what your competitors are doing in Facebook and TikTok and remarketing and email. And we're going to start to recommend what your team structure, channel mix, show you what the reporting will look like. And then if we need to, we can deep dive into Google Ads or SEO if the data is available. I just want to launch this for the group here. If anyone is interested in this growth plan, we don't charge anything for it. It's very hands-on. It is a few extra meetings, but if you feel like you have not been getting this level of guidance and thoughtfulness and care for your business, then it'd be nice to hear what an agency like ours thinks is the right path for you. Given all of our innovations and our experience, we're going to bring our A game. And this could be the foundation of a nice partnership. So I'm going to keep this up, by the way, while I offer people to ask questions. So please go to the questions box if anyone has any questions at this point. I haven't seen a question come through. There will be a recording of this and a recording and a PDF for this. Lauren, I actually don't know the number off the top of my head. Great question. Each PMAX campaign can have multiple asset groups. What is the maximum number of asset groups for each PMAX campaign? Well, I can tell you from an assets perspective, I think it's roughly about 35 assets per campaign, including images, video, headlines, etc. On average, how granular should the PMAX campaign be segmented? So for starters, you probably want to break it down by your product type. And if you think you have better structure or it's more meaningful to break it down by brand or segment, because you have that kind of organized, you're looking for some way that your listing group is already organized. So you can start there. So your listing group organization, which, foundationally everyone has product type, you start there and then you add asset groups. You start with that high level of structure, maybe doubling it. So you say, here's my product type plus top sellers, and then everything else from the product type that is not a top seller. So all in, typically, you're launching with somewhere between 5 and maybe upwards to 15 or 20 PMAX campaigns. So your product type broken out by top sellers and not. And then after that, you would start to focus on identifying ways to break out based on audience signals, intent signals, and more granularity. Hey, Mitch, just asking a question. Can you discuss advertising on TikTok? So we just did a webinar for TikTok 2 weeks ago. I definitely redirect you towards that. At a high level, TikTok is a great place for younger audience, typically between age 10 and 30, to be introduced to products that they could buy. Their average income is lower. When there is income, it's in the 30 to 50K range, but there's 13 billion uses of the hashtag. TikTok made me buy it. And TikTok is different from Facebook and Instagram. Facebook and Instagram, most of your feed is driven by who you follow. On TikTok, most of your feed is driven by what you're interested in. So it's like watching YouTube in short video format for things you're interested in. And the benefit of that is it's typically interesting content, it's meaningful to you, and a lot of product introductions, including ads, are part and parcel of that group. People go to Pinterest and TikTok to find products that they can buy. So in that way, it's a little different from Facebook, where people are going to interact with their friends or share something about themselves. As long as you have the demographic overlap with TikTok, it is pretty powerful. All right, so Lauren, you can create up to 100 campaigns broken out by product types, and then you can add your asset groups to that. Awesome, folks. I don't see any other questions here, but happy to take any last minute ones. Hopefully this was helpful, and he's trying to see ways to work within your current Google Ads, adopt some of the new innovation, and then from there, thinking about how to use innovation that's happening by third parties like Exclusive, where we're trying to unlock the challenge of efficiency and scale, using our tools, which we typically don't charge anything extra except for your technology fee that you're already paying for. We can unlock growth in ways that statistics and data science can do. So I really hope this was helpful, folks. And yeah, I'll close out our survey for now. Please do answer the survey that's coming through. We got another webinar coming up in 2 weeks. We'll see you all there. Thanks, folks. Cheers.